The iceberg theory, a writing technique designed by Ernest Hemingway to create a strategy of hiding the story. The stories get crazier as you go deeper, much like how crazy an iceberg is as you go deeper into the ocean. Because apparently, icebergs are quite big. And how do we know this? Well, science once again. With the return of the UEFA Champions League this week with matchday 1 of the league stage, we're going to take a look back on the stories, events and controversy of the past in Europe's greatest club competition. So, let's get started. Tier 1, Barcelona vs Paris Saint-Germain 2016-17. We open one of the games that is widely considered to be one of the greatest comebacks in football history, and is widely remembered commonly by Barcelona fans as La Remontada, translated in English to the comeback. After being drawn together for the round of 16 for the third time in 5 seasons, Paris Saint-Germain hosted the first leg of the Parc des Princes in Paris. Angel Di Maria put the Parisians in front on 18 minutes with a free kick after Barcelona's Samuel Umtiti committed a foul. Julian Draxler made it 2-0 with a low shot in the 40th minute, assisted by Marco Verratti. After 55 minutes, Di Maria scored once again from a shot outside the box. Edinson Cavani scored the final goal of the game in the 72nd minute, securing the 4-0 win, Barcelona only achieving 1 shot on target during the entire match. Improvements needed for the second leg then, which was played 3 weeks later at the Camp Nou in front of a 96,000 plus crowd. Luis Suarez opened the scoring with a header in the 3rd minute, managing to bundle the ball over the line. Levan Kurzawa scored an own goal in the 40th, attempting to block a shot from Andres Iniesta. A 50th minute goal came via a penalty scored by Lionel Messi after Neymar was fouled by Thomas Meunier. Barcelona's hopes were seemingly brought down after Edinson Cavani scored Paris Saint-Germain's only goal in the 62nd minute, leaving them requiring 3 more to win due to the away goals rule now favouring the away side, PSG. Therefore, if Barcelona had only won 5-1, PSG would have won because they scored away, but Barcelona hadn't, thus winning the away goals 1-0. Angel Di Maria had a chance to increase PSG's lead, but was fouled by Javier Mascherano and no penalty given. Neymar scored 2 goals in the closing stages with a tracer bullet free kick in the 88th minute and a controversial penalty kick when Luis Suarez fell in the 91st minute to make it 5-1. In the final seconds of the match, the magic happened when Neymar delivered a cross into the penalty area and Sergio Roberto scored their 6th and final goal in the 95th minute, winning the game 6-1 and advancing to the quarterfinals 6-5 on aggregate. The famous branding. The UEFA Champions League branding is commonly recognised by its famous star ball and anthem. In 1991, UEFA asked commercial partner Team to rebrand their premier club competition ahead of the 1992-93 season. They came up with an idea that has gone down as one of the most successful rebrands in history, providing an anthem, colour scheme and famous star ball. According to Team, irrespective of whether you're a spectator in Moscow or Milan, you will always see the same stadium dressing materials, the same opening ceremony featuring the Star Ball centre circle, and hear the same UEFA Champions League anthem, at least until a couple of seasons ago. Based on research it conducted, Team concluded that by 1999, the Star Ball logo had achieved a recognition rate of 94% among fans. Tottenham's final run in 2019. In 2019, English football club Tottenham Hotspur made their first appearance in a European final since their 1984 UEFA Cup triumph. After qualifying directly to the group stage by finishing 3rd in the 2017-18 Premier League, they were drawn in a group containing FC Barcelona, PSV Eindhoven and Inter Milan. Tottenham finished 2nd in the group stage, despite losing to Inter Milan and Barcelona in the first 2 match days. A draw and a win at PSV Eindhoven home and away put them up on 4 points after 4 matches. A 1-0 win at Wembley against Inter Milan helped them up to 7 points, and a draw at Barcelona helped them to qualify for the round of 16 on 8. Borussia Dortmund awaited them in the round of 16, with Spurs winning 3-0 at home and 1-0 away, setting up a tie with Manchester City. A 1-0 win at their new stadium in the first leg put them in control, however the second leg at the Etihad wasn't as easy. After a thriller tie that was 4-3 until the 90th minute, Raheem Sterling scored what everyone at the Etihad believed to be the winner. However, the goal was disallowed in the last minute because of an offside against Sergio Aguero, putting Tottenham into the European Cup semi-finals for the first time since 1962. A youthful Ajax that were pulling off miracles awaited them in the semi-finals, having beaten the holders Real Madrid and Juventus on their way to face Tottenham. After losing the first leg 1-0 in London, Spurs travelled to Amsterdam with it all to do. However, they fell 3-0 down on aggregate after goals from Hakim Ziyech and Matthijs de Ligt. Lucas Moura then scored 3 without reply, including a 96th minute winner to send Tottenham through on away goals. Despite losing 2-0 to Liverpool in the final at the Wanda Metropolitano in Madrid, this run is remembered as one of Tottenham's most memorable, until most recently when the script suddenly changed. Manchester United vs Paris Saint-Germain 2018-19. Before the 2018-19 season, Manchester United had struggled in Europe, only reaching the quarter-final stages once since Alex Ferguson left the club in 2013. After sacking Jose Mourinho in December 2018 and being drawn against Paris Saint-Germain in the round of 16, United and new interim boss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had a task to progress to the quarter-finals. In the first leg at Old Trafford in Manchester, United lost 2-0 after goals from Prensel Kimpembe and Kylian Mbappe. Manchester United would need to score 3 goals to progress at the Parc des Princes in the away leg, leading to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's famous "mountains are there to be climbed, aren't they" quote. The game at the Parc des Princes started with an early goal from Romelu Lukaku in the second minute. However, Wan Bernat came back and scored PSG's third in the tie. Lukaku scored again 20 minutes later to put the tie at 3-2, and in the 90th minute, Diogo Dalot had a shot from outside the box, hitting Kimpembe's arm and going behind for a corner. After a VAR review, referee Damir Skimina gave a penalty to Manchester United, which was subsequently scored by Marcus Rashford and put United through on away goals. PSG was stunned and were knocked out of Europe once again at the round of 16 stage. Manchester United progressed through to face FC Barcelona in the quarter-finals and also gave Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a new contract to be the permanent manager of the club. Being in the Champions League quarter-finals for the first time since 2013-14 was a big thing for the United. However, they lost out to a bit of magic from that man, Lionel Messi. The Super League. Could you imagine then all the best clubs in Europe in a 20-team league? No promotion or relegation, just the 15 clubs permanently in a league as well as governing the tournament. Well, that's what the European Super League was going to do. In April 2021, on the eve of the UEFA Executive Committee meeting in Nyon, Switzerland, Florentino Perez of Real Madrid, Andrea Agnelli of Juventus, Joel Glazer of Manchester United, John Henry of Liverpool, and Stan Kroenke of Arsenal formed an executive leadership and announced the formation of the European Super League. The clubs signed up involved Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur, Internazionale Milano, Juventus, AC Milan, Club Atletico de Madrid, Barcelona and Real Madrid. The competition hoped to provide higher quality of matches and additional financial resources for the overall football pyramid. Yeah, right. This caused an uproar from the fans, players, managers, governments, FIFA, UEFA and other clubs not involved in the plans. Many critics raised concerns regarding the league's exclusivity and reduced competitiveness of the league due to the opponent clubs in a semi-closed league format. 9 clubs pulled out of the competition as a result of the protests, including all 6 English sides. However, 8 are still involved as stakeholders in the competition. So will this happen in the future? It seems unlikely. All the plans are currently in suspension. However, from a legal standpoint, the plans could still go ahead at this point. The European Court of Justice issued a ruling stating a ban on the Super League that could be in conflict with EU laws. The Miracle of Istanbul, the 2005 UCL final. The 2005 UEFA Champions League final between AC Milan and Liverpool is widely considered one of the greatest finals in footballing history. After an early goal from Paolo Maldini and a double from Hernan Crespo, Liverpool were 3-0 down at half-time and Milan on their way to a 7th European Cup triumph. Milan looked unstoppable. However, in the 54th minute, Steven Gerrard scored to start the comeback of all comebacks, with goals from Vladimir Šmiša and Xabi Alonso completing a 6-minute return to level terms, from 3-0 to 3-3 in 6 minutes. After a goalless period of extra time, the game went to penalties. Milan missed their first 2 after Serginho sent a shot over the bar, and Andrea Pirlo was denied by Jerzy Dudek. Didi Hamann and Djibril Cissé scored Liverpool's first 2, putting them ahead. Thomason scored for Milan, and John Arisa missed to put Milan closer to levelling. Kaká and Vladimir Šmiša scored their penalties. However, Andrei Shevchenko had his penalty saved by Jerzy Dudek to give Liverpool their 5th UEFA Champions League title and secured the comeback of all comebacks. This match is widely considered by many to be one of the greatest European finals and is dubbed by fans as the Miracle of Istanbul. It would be 14 years before Liverpool won the competition again. It's now time for Tier 2. Ajax 2018-19. Ajax are one of the Netherlands' most successful football clubs, winning the Eredivisie title 36 times and the UEFA Champions League 4 times. However, their 2018-19 season is one of the most memorable in recent history after reaching the semi-finals. Managed by Dutch manager Erik ten Hag, Ajax were considered a very youthful team, with prospects Matthijs de Ligt, Frenkie de Jong, Dusan Tadic, Hakim Ziyech, Andre Onana and Nusayr Mazraoui. They started their season in the second qualifying round, beating on aggregate Sturm Graz 5-1, Standard Liège 5-2, Dynamo Kiev 3-1 to reach the group stage. They were later drawn in Group E with FC Bayern München, Ajax, Benfica and AEK Athens, going unbeaten and progressing with 3 wins and 3 draws. As they were drawn against Real Madrid in the round of 16, many considered this to be the end of their unbeaten streak, and some might have believed themselves to be correct after the first leg in Amsterdam, where Ajax lost 2-1. In the return leg at the Bernabeu, Ajax fought back to win the game 4-1 and the overall tie 5-3 in aggregate. This was a huge shock for Los Blancos, whose run of 3 consecutive competition wins from 2016-18 ended at the hands of a very youthful Ajax, leading to manager Santiago Solari's dismissal. Ajax's reward was being drawn against Juventus for the quarter-finals, with a draw in the home leg in Amsterdam and a win in Turin to knock Cristiano Ronaldo out of the Champions League for the first time since 2015. An injury-stricken Tottenham Hotspur awaited them in the semi-finals, and after winning the first leg 1-0 in London, all eyes turned to Amsterdam for the following week, when Ajax went 2-0 up in the 35th minute, meaning they were 3-0 up on aggregate at half-time. 15 minutes into the second half, Lucas Moura scored twice in 4 minutes, and later scored a 96th-minute winner to win the tie on away goals for Tottenham. Ajax were knocked out in heartbreaking fashion. This is widely considered to be one of the greatest underdog runs in the history of the Champions League, and some believe that Ajax could have won the tournament if they reached the final against eventual champions Liverpool. So, could they have done? Why not let me know in the comments down below, put a like on the video and also subscribe if you haven't already. PSG were lucky to win their UEFA Champions League in 2025. Wow, what a statement this was to read. PSG won their first UEFA Champions League in June 2025 after beating Internazionale Milano 5-0 in the final. But some might believe that they were lucky due to their performance in the league stage of the competition, where they finished 15th in the table, after losing to Arsenal, Atletico Madrid, Bayern München and drawing to PSV Eindhoven. Unbelievably, 3 wins in their last 3 matches against RB Salzburg, Manchester City and Stuttgart helped them into a seeded spot for the knockout playoffs, where they beat Stade Brestois 10-0 on aggregate. In the round of 16, a win on penalties against Liverpool at Anfield after an away defeat in the first leg helped them into the quarter-finals. And after surviving an almost comeback from Aston Villa at Villa Park, PSG progressed into the semi-finals 5-4 in aggregate. They would then face Arsenal, who they beat 1-0 away at the Emirates, and won 2-1 at the Parc des Princes to make it to the final. Realistically, in truth, there were moments where they might have been knocked out, especially when John McGinn scored. But it was a truly magical run for PSG, who secured their first title after so many years of trying. I don't really think luck has that much to do with it. The away goals rule. One day you'll probably be asked by your grandchildren what away goals were, and like the offside rule, it's not really something you can explain to someone on a first date. So what is it? Away goals is a rule used in knockout football to decide matches where teams play each other twice across 2 legs, home and away. Under the rule, if the total goals scored by each team are equal, the team that has scored more goals away from home wins the tiebreaker and progresses in the competition. UEFA first introduced the away goals rule in the 1965-66 European Cup Winners' Cup, and more recently was removed across all forms of the European football calendar from the 2021-22 season. It has provided magical nights over the years. In 2019 it brought that famous night in Paris for Manchester United and Tottenham's comeback in Amsterdam. Tom Henning Ovrebo, Barcelona vs Chelsea 2009 semi-final. FC Barcelona and Chelsea have European rivalry unlike any other. In the modern era, it all stems from the semi-final second leg in 2009 at Stamford Bridge. After a 0-0 draw at the Camp Nou, Barcelona visited London for the away leg and went 1-0 down after 9 minutes as a result of a stunning volley from Mikel Essien. The controversy began in the 26th minute when referee Tom Henning Ovrebo failed to give a penalty or book Eric Abidal when the Frenchman sent Didier Drogba to the floor inside the box. Drogba's initial reaction was furious, and later missed a golden opportunity later in the match to send his side 2-0 up in the 51st minute, forcing a wonderful save from Victor Valdez. Overball in the 65th minute sent off Eric Abidal after a denial of a clear goal-scoring opportunity on fellow countryman Nicolas Anelka, one that many analysts and commentators believe could have been avoided if Eric Abidal was sent off or even cautioned in the first half for his tackle on Drogba. In the 81st minute, Overball failed to give a clear penalty when Gerard Piqué handled the ball inside the box, which was deemed by Chelsea supporters and pundits as unforgivable. Andres Iniesta then scored a 90th minute winner that would mean Barcelona would progress to the final on away goals. The controversy though did not stop there. Frank Lampard whipped in a last minute corner in added time that was met by Michael Ballack. When Ballack tried to volley the ball only to be met by the hand of Samuel Eto'o in the eye line of the referee, and no, before you wonder, he didn't give the penalty, leading to Ballack leading chase all the way down the pitch screaming his face. To be fair, we've all done that to a referee somewhere. At the final whistle, Chelsea were angry. Captain John Terry and Michael Ballack surrounded the referee wanting explanations, and more famously Didier Drogba going up to a TV camera saying it's a disgrace and being manhandled down the tunnel. It was reported after the fixture that Overbov received a police escort out of the country after the match, as well as many death threats directed towards him that Chelsea distanced themselves from as a club. Due to improper conduct from players and fans, Chelsea were fined £85,000 by UEFA due to improper conduct. Drogba was banned for 3 matches and Jose Bosingua for 2. Barcelona went on to beat Manchester United 2-0 in the final in Rome. In a 2012 interview, Overball claims that he is still subject to abuse from Chelsea fans, and in 2018 he admitted to Spanish press giant Marca that he made a series of mistakes and that he was not proud of his performance, also claiming that those mistakes can be committed by any referee. All 3 of them, all at once, in one game, apparently. Later in 2009, Overball refereed the qualification matches for the FIFA World Cup 2010, and during a game between Greece and Latvia, which was a qualification 6-pointer, Greece were awarded a highly disputed penalty while trailing 2-1, a penalty which probably shouldn't have been awarded and shouldn't have been awarded at all. Greece scored from 12 yards to help them turn back the tie 5-2, helping them qualify for the 2010 World Cup in South Africa and denying Latvia a first FIFA World Cup appearance. Again, a group against Argentina, South Korea and Nigeria. Overball unbelievably continued to referee as part of UEFA's elite group and came under further controversy the following season in the Champions League when officiating a round of 16 match between Fiorentina and FC Bayern München in 2010, sparking major anger once again after allowing Miroslav Klose's goal that was scored in an offside position. The following day he chose to blame his linesman, his own team, saying it's clear we should have realised it was offside and that he received wrong information. As a result of this refereeing error, Bayern progressed on to the quarter-finals to meet Manchester United, who they beat, and then eventually reached the final, losing to Inter Milan. Overball retired in 2013, but still gives interviews regarding his refereeing career. But how different life and football could have been for so many teams, so many clubs, if Overball didn't make these mistakes. The perfect season. Now, I used to be a quiz host back in my university years, and I asked the question, who is the only European football team to complete a European competition with 100% wins, no draws and no defeats? The answer? FC Bayern München. It happened more recently than you think as well. In 2019-20 UEFA Champions League, Bayern won every single one of their games, beating Tottenham, Olympiacos and Red Star Belgrade in the group stage, Chelsea in the round of 16, Barcelona famously 8-2 in the quarter-finals, Lyon in the semi-finals and PSG in the final. Will it ever be repeated? Well, we'll see. There's hundreds of European teams that could potentially win one of UEFA's club competitions this season. Now it's time for Tier 3. If you haven't already, please make sure you like the video and also subscribe. Maybe also give us a hype if you haven't already and want to try the new feature. The 2020 UEFA Champions League mini-tournament. 2020 was one of the most disruptive years in history due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and football as a whole had to adapt. After the suspension of UEFA competitions in mid-March, football was put on hold until August, with remaining round of 16 matches being played in original stadiums and then all 8 quarter-final teams meeting in Lisbon to play single-leg ties at Estadio da Luz and Estadio José Alvalade behind closed doors. UEFA adopted similar formats for the games in the UEFA Europa League 2, meeting in Germany. The move to Lisbon and single-leg matchups created incredible results. Paris Saint-Germain beat Atalanta in the first game, RB Leipzig beat Atletico Madrid the following day. FC Bayern München beat Barcelona 8-2 in the famous game, and Lyon stunned Manchester City to reach the semis for the first time in a long time, beating them 3-1. PSG later beat RB Leipzig 3-0 to make their first ever UEFA Champions League final, and Bayern beat Lyon 3-0 to make the final. Bayern München eventually won the final thanks to a goal from French winger Kingsley Coman, bringing them their 6th title and becoming the first European team to win 100% of their matches in a European club competition. Nevertheless, football fans love the temporary format, with all the surprises, all the shocks that the changes made. Philippe Coutinho's move to FC Barcelona, the greatest butterfly effect in football. This was a fantastic addition to the Iceberg. I was looking forward to this one the most. And probably this is one of the greatest butterfly effect stories in football. Brazilian attacking midfielder Philippe Coutinho's move from Liverpool to FC Barcelona is widely considered to be the start of one of Liverpool's most successful periods in the modern era, as well as the start of Barcelona's financial troubles. At Liverpool, Coutinho was one of the great stars of the early Jurgen Klopp generation. However, when Barcelona became interested in the summer of 2017, submitting a £72 million bid to Liverpool, it was rejected, but Liverpool still kept an eye on Coutinho, who had an eye on Barcelona. Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp threw the ball into Coutinho's court, telling him, "Stay here and they will end up building a statue in your honour. Go somewhere else, to Barcelona, to Bayern, to Real Madrid, and you will just be another player." Barcelona came back again in 2018 in the winter transfer window, submitting a £105 million bid that could rise to £142 million if clauses were met during Coutinho's time at Barcelona. Liverpool accepted, starting the butterfly effect that set the motion of the futures of both clubs for the next 7 years. Barcelona's decision to spend so much money on Coutinho is hard to justify looking back on it. Yes, Coutinho was a fantastic player at the time. He finished the first half of the 2018-19 season on 12 goals and 9 assists, but goals and assists weren't Liverpool's problem. It was defence. More on this in a moment. Barcelona saw Coutinho as a long-term replacement for Neymar, who left for Paris Saint-Germain in 2017 after his €222 million release clause was activated. Many believe Coutinho struggled to cope with the price tag that had been put on him, as well as the expectations of Barcelona as a club. Due to his decline in form, Barcelona loaned him to FC Bayern for the 2019-20 season, the same year Barcelona were beaten 8-2 by Bayern, and the same game where Coutinho scored 2 against them after coming off the bench. He returned to Barcelona that summer and played under new manager Ronald Koeman until a knee injury kept him out for the season, essentially keeping him out for the rest of the year. Eventually being sold to Aston Villa for £17 million in January 2022. The lack of a return on transfer fee, as well as extremely high spending under club president Josep Maria Bartomeu, led to Barcelona spending and losing a lot of money, starting financial troubles that caused the departure of club legend Leo Messi on a free transfer to European rivals Paris Saint-Germain, as well as other high-profile players. In 2021, at the time of Messi's departure and during the COVID-19 pandemic, the club's debt stood at a staggering €1.4 billion, even without the Neymar money. While most of it was short-term debt, Barcelona struggled as a result for years, and despite winning the league in 2022-23, this was one of 2 major trophies in 4 years, as rivals Real Madrid led the way in Europe and beyond. It's been widely seen in recent times that Barcelona are becoming competitive again. In the 2024-25 season, they won La Liga, the Copa del Rey, and reached the Champions League semi-finals, with exciting youth stars such as Lamine Yamal coming through La Masia. Liverpool went through one of their most successful periods in the modern era as a result of the Coutinho sale. With the money Liverpool received, the funds were immediately reinvested into the club, helping to finance the signings of key players Virgil van Dijk and Alisson Becker, bolstering the defence during their 2018-19 season. This was the smart investment that really revolutionised Liverpool as a club. Liverpool conceded 22 goals in 2018-19, compared to 38 the previous season. As a result, helping Liverpool to win the UEFA Champions League, beating Barcelona in a famous 4-0 comeback at Anfield in the semi-finals, and also challenging for the Premier League title, which they lost out by millimetres and also 1 point. Liverpool came back stronger to win the Premier League in 2019-20, despite being knocked out of the Champions League to Atletico Madrid. Their first league title in 30 years was a huge success to the red side of the city of Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp had created a dynasty at the club, winning the Club World Cup, Super Cup, FA Cup and a League Cup in the following years, as well as also laying the foundations for Arne Slot's new reign at Liverpool, where they won the league title last season in 2024-25. And Coutinho today, well, he now plays for his boyhood club Vasco da Gama in Portugal, but his move from Liverpool to Barcelona is still to this day one of the greatest butterfly effects in football that decided the destinies of two great clubs. Italian clubs have declined in the Champions League. Italy has had many major successful football clubs in Europe, but only 3 have won the Champions League. AC Milan being the most successful with 7 titles, Internazionale Milano with 3 titles, and Juventus with 2. AC Milan are considered by many to be one of the most successful clubs in the history of Europe's greatest club competition. However, the amount of times that Italian clubs have been runners-up is notable, Juventus 7 times, and both Milan clubs 4 times each. So what's the theory regarding Italy's decline? It's not exactly a correct statement. Internazionale Milano were in the final in 2023 and 2025 most recently, losing out to Manchester City 1-0 in Istanbul and PSG in München 5-0. But as of the time of recording, no Italian club has won the Champions League since Jose Mourinho's Inter Milan in 2010, and since then Italian clubs have appeared in semi-finals only 5 times. Juventus in 2015-2017, where they ended up on the losing finalists both times, Roma in 2018 when they played eventual runners-up Liverpool, and Internazionale Milano 2023 and 2025 as mentioned previously. It is most likely that Italian clubs have declined in Europe. They're not as strong as they used to be in comparison to other teams on the European stage, especially English and Spanish teams, but I don't think it'll be long before the sun shines on Italy again. There will definitely be a new winner in the next 10 years. The dominance of Spanish clubs. Moving to another nation, Spain has been dominant in Europe over recent years, with clubs such as Barcelona, Real Madrid, Sevilla winning a UEFA competition. Since 2000, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Valencia, Atletico Madrid have all made a final, with Barcelona winning 4 and Real Madrid winning 8 titles. Barcelona went on an incredible run of winning their 4 titles between 2005 and 2015, and were dominant in the Pep Guardiola era between 2009 and 2011. Real Madrid, on the other hand, won 8 titles between 2002 and 2024, including the famous three-peat between 2016 and 2018 under manager Zinedine Zidane. There's no question that Spanish football and La Liga clubs have been extremely good in recent years. 12 out of 25 titles won in the 21st century were by Real Madrid and Barcelona, which is an incredible statistic. In comparison, French teams have won once in 25 years, German and Italian clubs 3 times, and English clubs 6 times. Of course, this can be down to great players playing in Spain during this period too. Messi, Ronaldo, Bale, Casillas, Ramos, Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets, Puyol, Piqué, Suarez, Neymar, Benzema, all generational players who made it possible for their clubs. It's definitely been a dominant era, but as a wise bold man once said, all eras can come to an end. John Terry's slip. The 2008 UEFA Champions League final lives long in the memory of both sets of Manchester United and Chelsea fans, one club for the wrong reasons. After the match went to penalties in Moscow after drawing 1-1, thanks to a goal each from Cristiano Ronaldo and Frank Lampard. Ronaldo missed his penalty in the shootout, and both sides scored all their penalties, putting the score at 4-4 with a Chelsea penalty needed to win it. John Terry stepped up as captain to take the penalty that could win Chelsea their first ever UEFA Champions League. When taking his penalty, John Terry, due to the heavy rain and wet pitch, lost his footing when planting his standing foot, and despite Van der Sar being sent the wrong way, his penalty hit the post and went wide, much to the celebration of United supporters and despair of the Blue supporters. Terry was distraught afterwards as Nicolas Anelka went on to miss a sudden death penalty that gave United their 3rd European title. Chelsea and Terry ended up redeeming the loss in Moscow, winning 4 years later in Munich against Bayern. Loris Karius, 2018 UEFA Champions League final. Loris Karius is a German goalkeeper who played for Liverpool in the 2018 UEFA Champions League final. Many fans consider Karius' performance in the final as one of the worst ever by a goalkeeper. Karius was deemed at fault for 2 of the 3 goals that they conceded that night, the first being a throw being blocked by Karim Benzema when Karius tried to distribute it out to his defence, when Benzema managed to deflect it into the net. The second being the 3rd goal, when Gareth Bale had a speculative shot from 40 yards, which bounced through Karius' hand into the net. After the match, a very emotional Karius apologised in front of the Liverpool supporters. Post-match, Karius received death threats online which prompted Merseyside police to launch an investigation. During a medical examination 5 days after the final, medics concluded that an earlier head collision with Real Madrid defender Sergio Ramos caused a concussion to Karius. In the summer transfer window after the final, Karius was replaced as Liverpool number 1 by Alisson Becker. Feeling forced out, he made a 2-year loan move to Beşiktaş in Turkey. However, on his return after a termination of the loan in 2020 due to unpaid wages, he never played for Liverpool again. Karius now plays for Schalke 04 in Germany, but his bad night in Kiev did have a long-standing impact on the game. Calls post-match were made for more concussion testing and head injury stoppages in football, which have now been implemented in the Premier League and UEFA competitions. Tier 4. Well, if you haven't subscribed already or liked the video, why not do it now? Perfect time to do it. So, Zlatan Ibrahimovic deserved to win a UEFA Champions League. Oh Zlatan, where do you start regarding Sweden's greatest ever forward? Zlatan Ibrahimovic made his European debut for Ajax in the Champions League in 2001, losing to Celtic in the 3rd qualifying round. He then made the quarter-finals of the Champions League in 2002-03, losing out to eventual champions AC Milan. After being knocked out of the group stage with Ajax in 2003-04, he moved to Italian giants Juventus, reaching the quarter-finals again but losing out to Liverpool. Despite reaching the quarter-finals once again the following season and losing out to Arsenal. The Calciopoli scandal in 2006 stripped Juventus of their league titles and relegated them to the Serie B. Zlatan, along with other many top stars, left Juventus despite their pleas for them to stay, and he ended up signing up for league rivals Internazionale Milan. Zlatan continued his quest for European glory. Despite winning 3 league titles with the Nerazzurri, Inter were knocked out of the Champions League round of 16 every year Zlatan was at the club. In 2007 losing to Spanish side Valencia, in 2008 losing to Liverpool, and in 2009 losing to Manchester United. In the 2009 summer transfer window, a deal was agreed between reigning European champions FC Barcelona and Inter for the swap deal of Samuel Eto'o and £40 million for Ibrahimovic. This deal was considered by Jose Mourinho as one of the final pieces in the puzzle to his ideal Inter Milan team to take on Europe, and it worked a treat, with Inter Milan winning the Champions League in 2010. Beating Ibrahimovic's Barcelona in the semi-finals, which was a missed opportunity maybe for Zlatan, but it didn't get any easier for him in Barcelona. During his spell at Barcelona, Zlatan fell out with manager Pep Guardiola during the 2009-10 season, causing a dressing room incident where he allegedly threw a training kit box across the room and screamed insults at Guardiola. The relationship between the two deteriorated, and Ibrahimovic was loaned out to AC Milan for the 2010-11 season. The same season that Barcelona went on to win the Champions League against Manchester United in Wembley. In the 2 seasons he was at AC Milan, he failed to reach the semi-finals, making a move to Paris Saint-Germain for the 2012-13 season, which is widely considered one of his finest spells at a club in his career. At PSG, however, Zlatan made the quarter-finals in every single year he was at the club. However, PSG did not progress any further than this, losing to Barcelona in 2013, Chelsea in 2014, Barcelona again in 2015, and Manchester City in 2016. Zlatan made the move to Manchester United for the 2016-17 season, winning the Europa League, his first European title under Jose Mourinho. While they made the Champions League the next season, injuries plagued that season, and he then later moved to LA Galaxy to play MLS football. Therefore, he didn't play European football until he returned to AC Milan in 2020, where he didn't make it to a Champions League knockout stage in 2022. Zlatan is now retired and received the UEFA's President's Award at the most recent draw ceremony in August 2025. However, his 2 best shots at the UEFA Champions League were most likely in 2010 with Internazionale Milano and 2011 with FC Barcelona, 2 trophies that didn't happen due to transfers and a major fallout with the manager. As to whether he deserved the Champions League, most likely, he probably did. His Inter Milan spell was probably his best chance to do it. Being one of Europe's top scorers and stars players at the time, he probably should have done. But not all things come to the greats. Arsenal should have won the 2006 UEFA Champions League. 2006 was probably Arsenal's best shot at the UEFA Champions League, and while they have been competitive on the European stage in recent years, especially last season reaching the semi-finals, the Gunners came closest in the final in 2006 against FC Barcelona, in one of their best seasons since the Invincible season in 2004. Arsenal started the season with the major news that club captain Patrick Vieira would be leaving the club to join Juventus, with Thierry Henry assuming the captaincy. After being drawn in the UEFA Champions League against Ajax, Fun and Sparta Prague, nerves settled and Arsenal reached the knockout stages unbeaten with 5 wins and 1 draw. Real Madrid awaited in the Gunners in the round of 16, where a single goal from Thierry Henry at the Bernabeu helped win the tie across the 2 legs. Arsenal then met Patrick Vieira's Juventus in the quarter-finals, of course, where they ended up beating them 2-0 at Highbury and drawing 0-0 in Turin. The final European match at Highbury was a semi-final tie against Villarreal, with Kolo Touré scoring the last ever European goal at Highbury. Another goalless second leg secured the final for Arsenal. Now, in the final in Paris at the Stade de France is where it all went wrong. Jens Lehmann, goalkeeper for Arsenal, was sent off after 18 minutes for a foul on striker Samuel Eto'o. Manager Arsene Wenger brought off Robert Pires for Emmanuel Almunia as a result. Despite a player disadvantage, Arsenal took the lead after 37 minutes with a header from Sol Campbell. Thierry Henry missed a second half chance to make it 2-0, and to make matters worse, Samuel Eto'o equalised for Barcelona with 15 minutes to go. Giuliano Belletti then followed up with a winner for Barcelona, winning them their second Champions League, and kick-starting a very competitive era for the Spanish side. A lot of people consider this to be the turning point in the tie was Lehmann's sending off, with fans, Wenger, Henry and even FIFA president Sepp Blatter, unbelievably he spoke as well, critical of the referee's decision to send him off. Arsenal have still not made a UCL final since 2006. Borussia Dortmund vs Legia Warsaw 2016-17. Borussia Dortmund vs Legia Warsaw is written in the history books as the highest scoring single game in the history of the UEFA Champions League, with 12 goals scored in Dortmund's 8-4 group stage win. 2 goals each from Shinji Kagawa, Marco Reus, and individual goals from Nuri Sahin, Ousmane Dembele, Felix Paslak, and an unfortunate own goal from Legia helped Dortmund to the victory. 2 goals from Alexander Prijic and a goal each from Mikhail Kuzak and Nemanja Nikolic contributed to Legia's tally. Celtic vs FC Barcelona 2012. This game is probably one of the Celtic's most famous European nights. Yes, Celtic fans, definitely after the 1967 Lisbon Lions, but in the group stage of the 2012-13 competition, Celtic Park hosted FC Barcelona a day after the club's 125th anniversary. Celtic took the lead thanks to a header from Victor Wanyama and then put on an incredible defensive performance worthy of the club's 125th anniversary game to keep Barcelona at bay. A quick counter-attack from Celtic led to 18-year-old European debutant Tony Watts to be free and score in the 83rd minute to double Celtic's lead. I mean, what were you doing at 18? I was making YouTube videos. I wish I'd be scoring in Europe. Barcelona was shocked, and while Lionel Messi scored in the 90th minute to ensure Barcelona stayed somewhat in the game, Celtic did the impossible and beat the European giants 2-1 at home. For Celtic's European season this was huge, as beating Barcelona helped them outscore Benfica on points, leading them to reach the knockout stage. Unfortunately, when they reached the round of 16, they met Juventus, who beat them 5-0 on aggregate. Jose Mourinho's Porto 2003-04. One of the greatest Champions League runs of all time was orchestrated by a certain special Portuguese manager. After winning the UEFA Cup the season prior, Jose Mourinho and Porto set their sights on the Champions League. After being drawn in a group with Real Madrid, Marseille and Partizan Belgrade, Porto opened their first 2 games with a draw against Partizan away in Belgrade and a defeat at home to Real Madrid at the Dragao. The dream may not have been as bright as they thought initially, but 2 back-to-back wins against Marseille, home and away, got them vital points, made even better by a win against Partizan at home, as well as a draw against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu against the Galacticos. In the knockout stage, they were drawn against Manchester United in the round of 16, where a win at the Dragao after 2 goals from star striker Benny McCarthy and an important away goal from Costinha at Old Trafford sent Mourinho running down the touchline in celebration as they knocked out the champions of England and made Sir Alex Ferguson's blood boil for the next 5 years. Lyon awaited Porto in the quarter-finals with a 2-0 win at home in the Dragao and a 2-2 draw at Stade de Gerland sent them through to a semi-final 4-2 on aggregate. There they would face Deportivo La Coruña, who had eliminated AC Milan in the previous round 5-4 in aggregate, in stunning style after a 4-0 win in the quarter-final second leg and a brilliant comeback from the Spanish side. A penalty from Brazilian Derlei in the second leg sent Porto through to the final, where they would face AS Monaco, who had convincingly eliminated Real Madrid and Chelsea on their way. The final in Gelsenkirchen was a blockbuster, as Porto were looking to replicate the success of their 1987 competition win, while Monaco, led by a young Didier Deschamps, were looking to win their first ever title. A 3-0 win from Porto was convincing, with goals from Carlos Alberto, Deco, Dmitry Alenciev, helping them to become European champions for the second time in their history. At the end of the season, Mourinho moved to the Premier League to join Chelsea, where he ended up winning 2 Premier League titles on the bounce, bringing stars Paulo Ferreira and Ricardo Carvalho with him. Deco departed for Barcelona, but this was the season that truly made the special one. Chelsea and Liverpool always play each other. This is a theory which probably refers to Liverpool and Chelsea playing each other in Europe for 5 consecutive seasons between 2004-05 and 2008-09. After being drawn against each other in Liverpool's famous 2005 winning season, Liverpool won 1-0 in the second leg to progress against Jose Mourinho's Chelsea, one that Chelsea fans believe they really should have beaten Liverpool to go through. After being given special dispensation to enter the UEFA Champions League in 2005-06, after winning the tournament and not being in the Premier League qualifying spots, UEFA entered Liverpool through the qualifying rounds, where they ended up facing Chelsea in the group stages, with both games ending 0-0. Both teams met in the semi-finals once again in 2006-07, with Chelsea winning the first leg 1-0 at Stamford Bridge, and Liverpool winning the second leg 1-0 and beating Chelsea 4-1 in a penalty shootout. Liverpool would eventually lose out to AC Milan in Athens in the final. In 2007-08, both teams once again met in the semi-finals, with a draw in the first leg and Chelsea winning the second leg to take them through to the final after a period of extra time. Chelsea would lose out to Manchester United in the final on penalties in Moscow. In 2008-09, the two teams met again in the semi-finals, with Chelsea taking a 3-1 win in the first leg at Anfield. The second leg was a 4-4 thriller, with goals from Didier Drogba, Alex and Frank Lampard helping Chelsea through despite a Liverpool resurgence that brought them level on away goals. After 28 minutes, Chelsea progressed to the semi-finals. However, as mentioned earlier, what followed against FC Barcelona became a refereeing mess that would go down in history. So, will they meet again this season? We'll have to see. Tier 5. Well, we've reached the base of the iceberg. This is where some of the biggest conspiracy theories, incidents and miracles are. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe, hype the video if you'd like, and enjoy the final tier of the Champions League Iceberg. Do Marseille deserve the 1992-93 title? Olympique Marseille are considered to be the first ever winners of the modern UEFA Champions League after it was rebranded from the European Cup in 1992 by UEFA. Shortly after their victory in 93, Marseille and their president Bernard Tapie were accused of match fixing after a previous league meeting against Valenciennes. Tapie and manager Jean-Pierre Burns asked Marseille player Jean-Jacques Edile to speak to 3 of Valenciennes players, Roger Burruchaga, Jacques Glassman and Christophe Robert, bribing them to underperform in the fixture so that Marseille could be fresher for the Champions League final in Munich against Milan 6 days later. It's a bribe that is believed to have been made under Tapie's instructions, as he did not want a repeat of Marseille going into a European final with injured players, a similar situation to the 1991 European Cup final against Crvena Zvezda, where they lost on penalties to the side from Belgrade. But Burruchaga and Robert accepted the bribe from Marseille. However, Glassman refused and publicly revealed the approach from Marseille. Marseille was stripped of their 1992-93 league title, relegated to Ligue 2 and banned from European competition for the following season. With runners-up Paris Saint-Germain being given the title, despite this, PSG declined the title, leaving no declared winner of the French league for that year. At the trial, Tapie, Burns, Burruchaga, Edile and Robert were all convicted of corruption, with Tapie and Edile being given jail terms and the rest receiving suspended sentences. Furthermore, allegations of doping from Marcel Desailly, Edile, Chris Waddle and Tony Cascarino were revealed in the years following the final. Edile said all of them took a series of injections before the final. Whether doping did actually occur is still disputed, but remains highly controversial to this day. Marseille were not stripped of any European titles, and still remained the champions of Europe for 1993. If you wonder what happened to Glassman, well, he went on and received the FIFA Player of the Play award a few years later. The Malaga Miracle. Apart from being a beautiful Spanish city where hundreds of thousands of people go on holiday to make themselves more orange every single year, Malaga's football club once had a fairy tale Champions League run, and brought to light some incredible talents to the European stage. At the start of the 2012-13 season, Malaga were led by Chilean manager Manuel Pellegrini, who had joined in November 2010 after being replaced at Los Blancos by Jose Mourinho. In his first full season in charge in 2011-2012, he finished in the top 4 La Liga, giving them a spot in the UEFA Champions League qualifiers for the first time in the club's history. However, during this summer, Malaga suffered major financial problems, forcing them to sell key players Santi Cazorla to Arsenal, Salomon Rondon to Rubin Kazan, and now Chelsea manager Enzo Maresca to Sampdoria. Ruud van Nistelrooy also retired after a season in Malaga. Despite their financial troubles, Malaga spent the least out of all of the UEFA Champions League clubs during the 2012-13 season, only spending €800,000 on a loan move for Manchester City striker Roque Santa Cruz. The remainder of their signings were out of favour players at major European clubs on free transfers. Malaga opened up their campaign in the playoff round against Greek club Panathinaikos, progressing to the group stage after winning the first leg 2-0, thanks to goals from Martin Demichelis and Elisieu, and drawing 0-0 in the second leg. In the group stage, they were drawn against Zenit Petersburg, Anderlecht and AC Milan, unbelievably proceeding to the knockout stage after winning one game and drawing one against all the teams, going unbeaten with 3 wins and 3 draws, finishing top of the group on 12 points ahead of Milan on 8. This was a huge surprise for many in the competition, with Malaga being branded a dark horse, especially after their poor transfer window and financial difficulties. In the round of 16 they met Iberian rivals FC Porto, losing the first leg 1-0, but coming back in the second leg to win 2-1 on aggregate after goals from future Real Madrid star Isco and Roque Santa Cruz. In the quarter-finals, after being drawn against Jurgen Klopp's Borussia Dortmund, a 0-0 draw in the first leg in Spain took the tie to an incredible atmosphere in Germany, where Malaga stunned Dortmund. After an early 25th minute goal from Joaquin, Lewandowski returned the tie to level terms in the 40th. A goal from Elisieu in the 82nd minute meant that Dortmund would need to win the game and score 2 goals to progress to the semi-finals. And unbelievably, Dortmund did score 2, through Marco Reus in the 91st minute and Felipe Santana in the 93rd to send Dortmund through to a semi-final against Real Madrid. Malaga were broken at the end of the game. With a fairy tale semi-final snatched at the last minute, it could have been a turning point for Malaga with their financial troubles as well. Incredibly, after being eliminated from the Champions League, Qatari club president Abdullah Ben Nasser Al Thani announced a formal complaint would be filed with UEFA and FIFA, calling the Dortmund winner unjust. This would be thrown out by the governing bodies, and despite qualifying for the Europa League for the 2013-14 season, they would be excluded from all European competitions for 1 season for breaking financial fair play regulations as a result of their debts. Manuel Pellegrini left for Manchester City that summer. Isco left for Real Madrid, where he won the Champions League the following season. Joaquin left for Fiorentina. Jeremy Toulon left for Monaco. Malaga were relegated in 2018 to the Segunda Division after a long decline, and to the 3rd Division in 2023. Today, Malaga are mid-table in the Segunda Division. So what could have been, and what might have happened if they went on to that semi-final against Real Madrid? Heysel 1985. I'd like to put a disclaimer on this next portion, as this part covers a big tragedy in European football. This event does have topics which are considered to be controversial by many. If you would like to skip this part, you can do so to the timestamp on screen now. The 1985 European Cup final was set to take place at the Heysel Stadium in Brussels, Belgium, between Liverpool and Juventus. Liverpool were looking to retain their crown as the European champions. However, Juventus were looking for their first ever European Cup and to complete the set of UEFA trophies. Before the final kicked off, concerns were raised by both sides regarding the condition of the stadium. The stadium was 55 years old, had not been sufficiently maintained for several years, and large parts of the stadium were crumbling in. In some areas of the stadium, there was only one turnstile, and some fans attending the game claimed that they were never searched or asked for their tickets. Bear in mind this is nearly a 60,000 seater stadium. Liverpool fans and players reportedly expressed surprise at the stadium's condition. They were also surprised that Heysel was chosen despite its poor condition, especially since Barcelona's Camp Nou and Madrid's Santiago Bernabeu were both available. Juventus president Gianpiero Boniperti and Liverpool CEO Peter Robinson urged UEFA to choose another venue and claimed that Heysel was not in any condition to host a European Cup final, especially one involving two prominent European clubs. However, UEFA refused to consider a move. It was later discovered in the inquest that UEFA's inspection of the stadium ahead of the final had just lasted 30 minutes. At approximately 7 PM local time, an hour before kickoff, the initial disturbance started. The Liverpool supporters in Section X and the mixed but largely Juventus supporters in Section Z, a supposed neutral section for which tickets had been sold locally in Belgium, stood merely metres apart. The boundary between the two was marked by a temporary chain link fencing and central thinly policed no man's land. Hooligans began to throw flares, bottles and stones across the divide and picked up stones from the crumbling terraces around them, due to the stadium decline in structural capability. As kickoff approached, the exchange of objects increased. Eventually, angry Liverpool fans charged towards the Juventus fans. The boundary between Section X and Z broke, and the few police officers stationed at the divide were overpowered. As the Juventus fans started fleeing initially towards the pitch, but the Belgian police would not allow them to go there, and the exit where the officials would not open the gate to allow them to leave, and then towards the decrepit concrete wall at the perimeter of Section Z. Fans standing near the wall were crushed, and as the pressure mounted, the entire lower portion of the wall collapsed, burying fans underneath it as it fell. Some fans managed to climb over to safety, but many others died or were badly injured. In retaliation for the events in Section Z, many Juventus fans advanced down the stadium running track to help other Juventus supporters from the other end of the field, but police intervention stopped the advance. The match was delayed for over an hour as a result of the disaster, but was later played because officials felt that abandoning the match would result in further violence. Juventus had made a request to not play the fixture. However, this was overruled by UEFA, the Italian Football Federation, the English FA, Royal Belgian FA, as well as the government and police. Juventus eventually won the game and the European Cup after a penalty from star attacking midfielder Michel Platini. However, the pre-match disaster overshadowed the result. 39 fans, mostly of Juventus, died in the disaster, with 600 more injured. On the 2nd of June, English clubs were banned from Europe for an indeterminate period of time, later being 5 years, and FIFA extended this ban to all worldwide matches. While this did not affect the England national team, all English clubs faced a 5-year ban from European competition. Liverpool, for their role and involvement in the disaster, faced a 6-year ban, only being allowed back into European competition from the 1991-92 season after UEFA's executive committee voted to allow them back. As a result of the ban, many clubs missed out on European campaigns in the European Cup, Cup Winners' Cup and UEFA Cup. These clubs were Everton, Manchester United, Liverpool, Tottenham, Southampton, Norwich, West Ham, Sheffield Wednesday, Oxford United, Coventry City, Arsenal, Wimbledon, Nottingham Forest, Luton Town and Derby. In the first meeting since Heysel in the 2004-05 UEFA Champions League, Liverpool's The Kop end held up placards creating a mosaic saying Amicizia, meaning friendship in Italian. Apologies if my pronunciation's off. This was met by a mixed reaction from Juventus supporters, with some applauding and others choosing to turn their backs. In the return leg in Turin, some Juventus supporters displayed the banners "Easy to speak, difficult to pardon, murders," and another reading 15-4-89 Sheffield, God exists. the latter in reference to the Hillsborough disaster, which occurred 4 years later after Heysel, in which 97 Liverpool fans died and 766 were injured after a crowd crush at an FA Cup fixture between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest. Chelsea's manager sacking bounce. Chelsea have been through many managers over the years, but one of the most interesting facts about each UEFA Champions League final appearance they have had is that each run has been started under a different manager than the one they finished the season with. After a mixed start to the 2007-08 season, Chelsea sacked manager Jose Mourinho by mutual consent after a 1-1 draw to Rosenborg. He was replaced by manager Avram Grant, who took Chelsea top of the group unbeaten in the group stage, beat Olympiacos in the round of 16, a 3-2 aggregate win against Fenerbahce in the quarter-final followed. After being drawn against Liverpool in the semi-finals, a 1-1 draw at Anfield with a key away goal meant a win would take them into the final. 2 Didier Drogba goals and a Frank Lampard penalty secured a place at the Luzhniki against Manchester United, where they would lose the final on penalties. On the 4th of March 2012, during the 2011-12 campaign, manager André Villas-Boas was sacked by Chelsea due to poor league form and a major 3-1 defeat to Napoli in the Champions League. The return leg at Stamford Bridge under caretaker manager Roberto Di Matteo was legendary, with goals from Drogba, Terry, Lampard to take the game to extra time. Branislav Ivanovic was key in smashing the ball home in extra time to help Chelsea reach the quarter-finals against Benfica. After a 1-0 win away in the first leg, a 2-1 win away in the second leg helped Chelsea to progress to another European semi-final, this time against holders FC Barcelona. Another 1-0 first leg win followed for a Drogba goal, however the second leg was far from easy. A goal each from midfield maestros Busquets and Iniesta and a John Terry red card did not make the path to the final look easy for Chelsea. A wonder goal from Ramirez on the stroke of half-time put Chelsea in pole position for the final. A 92nd minute goal from Fernando Torres and a Gary Neville voice break signalled Chelsea's second UEFA Champions League final appearance, where they would meet Bayern Munich. It was an outstanding performance from Chelsea in the final against Bayern. A goal from Thomas Müller in the 83rd minute put them ahead, but only for 5 minutes when a header from Drogba took the game to extra time. An extra time penalty from ex-Chelsea man Ian Robben was saved by Petr Cech, taking the game to a further 5 spot kicks each. With penalties tied up at 3-3 after 4 spot kicks, Bastian Schweinsteiger missed to give Drogba the chance to win the Champions League for Chelsea for the first time, which he did. Chelsea won the 2012 UEFA Champions League under Roberto Di Matteo after sacking André Villas-Boas in March. Fast forward 9 years to 2021, Chelsea sacked manager Frank Lampard after a poor run of form that included 2 wins from their past 8 league matches in the table, leaving them 7th. Lampard was replaced by German manager Thomas Tuchel, who managed to guide Chelsea past Atletico Madrid in the round of 16, winning 3-0 on aggregate. In the quarter-finals they played Porto, winning 2-0 in the first leg and losing the second leg 1-0. The semi-finals drew them against Real Madrid, and after an eventual first leg they drew 1-1 at Madrid's training ground, the Alfredo Di Stefano, with goals from Christian Pulisic and Karim Benzema. In the second leg, Chelsea went 2-1 up on aggregate after a goal from Timo Werner in the 28th minute, and then 3-1 up after a goal from Mason Mount in the 85th minute to secure their 3rd Champions League final. In the final in Porto at the Dragao, Chelsea faced Manchester City in another all-English final like 2008. This time, they triumphed against the smaller Manchester club, with Havertz rounding Ederson to score the only goal of the game. Chelsea had their 2nd Champions League win, and another one through a manager sacking bounce. One stat maybe to make Enzo Maresca sweat this season then. Well, that's it then. The end of the UEFA Champions League Iceberg. Or is it? Did we miss something on this video? Do we need a part 2? Let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see. If you did enjoy, please make sure to leave a like and a subscribe if you haven't already. And maybe please hype the video with a new feature if you want to try it. And hopefully your team will make the Champions League final this year at the Puskás Arena in Budapest. I'll be watching as neutral this season as my club Manchester United didn't make it, but let me know who you think will win this year's competition down below. I think it's going to be Barcelona. Thanks for watching and enjoy the league phase.